Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the complex stories, the dense research, all those tangled narrative threads you find in the sources, and really try to make sense of it all.
And today, we are jumping headfirst into the saga of Isara. It's this incredible story of a city just collapsing. Civil war, divine magic, forbidden love, and some really terrible consequences stemming from stolen power.
Yeah, it's a lot. Our focus today is going to be on that deep, deep conflict between the elite, the highborn in the Citadel district,
Right.
and the rebels in the lower city. They call themselves the New Legion.
Exactly. And the sources, they give us this really intense, almost ground-level view of the revolution reaching its climax, very bloody climax. We see it through the eyes of two central figures, Luca, the rebel centurion, and Maris, the highborn heiress, basically forced into opposing sides.
That opposition is key, isn't it?
Right.
Rebel leader, highborn heiress, and the situation when we dive in is, well, it's urgent. The stakes couldn't be higher. Let's start right there on the front line.
Okay, so the New Legion, the rebels, they've achieved something huge. They've pushed their front line right up to the Sophanese River.
And that river, it's not just water, is it? It's a massive symbol.
Oh, absolutely. It's the geographical line, sure, but it's also the political, the cultural barrier. It separates the Citadel, the seat of power, from everyone else in Isara.
So with the rebels controlling the riverbanks?
The loyal legion, the ones still fighting for the old regime, and all the remaining magistrates, the rulers, they're trapped, completely boxed into the Citadel district.
Wow, trapped.
Yeah, and the sources are clear. Everyone knows a river crossing by the rebels is coming, like any day. And the feeling is that the last stand in the district would be a bloody one. It's not if anymore, it's when. The siege is basically already happening.
And leading this charge, this new legion, is Luca, the centurion. He's adopted heir to one of these magistrate families, Matius, right? But he's fighting against them.
Exactly. Fighting the very class he was, technically, supposed to join. And here's the really strange part, the visual paradox. He has this faint circlet of light, just hovering over his head.
A circlet of light, like a halo.
Sort of, yeah. Faint, but unmistakable. Is this incredible visual irony. Here he is, leading a populist revolt against the Citadel's whole system, its religion, its politics.
And he's marked by their gods.
Precisely. It's supposed to be a sign of divine favor, maybe destiny. But for Luca, it's a source of deep shame. It draws attention he doesn't want. Even his own soldiers, the sources say, try not to stare. It just complicates everything for him, especially in a city that feels like the gods have abandoned it.
You mentioned bloody climax. The violence, it's already happening, isn't it? Even before the final assault.
Oh, yeah. It's brutal. We're talking about pure class vengeance being enacted right there, publicly.
How so?
The descriptions are chilling. Magistrates, these incredibly powerful figures just weeks ago, if they tried to flee the Citadel, they're caught. And they're being executed, hung from the bottom of the main bridge over the Sophanese.
Hung from the bridge, publicly.
Yes. Strung up for everyone to see. It's a deliberate act of terror. A message to anyone left in the Citadel. Don't run, don't expect mercy. Surrender isn't really on the table.
And there's that chant. The rebels shouting, 33! 33! What's that about? It sounds ominous.
It is. It's literally a countdown. The Forum, Isara's ruling council, originally had 65 magistrates, 65 seats of power.
Okay.
That number the rebels are chanting, 33. It's the number of magistrates left alive or trapped in the Citadel. It changes almost daily as more are killed or captured.
So they're counting down the destruction of the ruling class.
Exactly. It symbolizes the complete dissolution of that old power structure. They aren't shouting a battle cry, they're chanting the score of an execution list. It shows this isn't just about political change anymore, it's about annihilation.
Which really sets a dark tone. This revolution wants to cleanse the system. And that brings us straight to the heart of that system, the Citadel itself. Corrupt, built on inherited power.
Yeah, if you want to understand why Isara is falling apart, you absolutely have to look at the Forum, governed by those 65 magistrates. You'd know them instantly by their heavy robes, their medallions.
Medallions, like badges of office.
Sort of. Tokens of citizenship, really. Scattered symbols forged in the temple, marking them as the elite. But the real rot, the core corruption, isn't just about wealth or influence. It's the inheritance system itself.
Right. Power isn't earned, it's just passed down.
Exactly. Seats in the Forum are inherited. Keeps power locked tight within a few privileged families. Doesn't matter if you're competent, doesn't matter if you're decent. It's just about bloodlines.
And that's how Luca and Maris get pulled into this.
Precisely. Look at Maris. She inherits her seat only because her mother, Magistrate Casperia, kills herself. Drinks poisoned wine. It's tragic.
Man, Luca.
Luca wasn't born into it directly. His uncle, Magistrate Matius, was dying. Terminal illness. So Matius adopts Luca, not out of love, you understand, purely to make sure the family name, the family's power, survives after he's gone. The system literally uses death to keep itself going.
Grim. And they put so much effort into keeping up appearances, right? Even when things are clearly falling apart. Like that detail about Maris's portrait.
Oh, that portrait scene tells you everything. It's the Citadel's whole philosophy in miniature. Maris's official painting is meant to replace her mother's in the Forum right after the suicide.
Okay.
But her uncle, Nej, he's also her scribe. He's practically directing the painter. He keeps insisting, make her look older, make her look dignified.
Why? Because she's young.
Partly, but also because her mother's suicide was seen as weak, cowardly. It casts suspicion on the whole family line. So the portrait isn't about capturing Maris. It's pure propaganda, projecting stability, projecting dignity, even when the reality is, well, chaos and grief. Perception is everything in the Forum. Reality, not so much.
And this obsession with control, with perception, it fuels these intense political games, especially since Luca's family, the Matius line, and Maris's family, the Casperia line, were rivals.
Fierce rivals. Yeah. The sources paint this picture of constant maneuvering, constant backstabbing between Matius and Casperia. They were heads of opposing factions.
So Matius adopting Luca wasn't just about his own family line.
No, it was also a move against Casperia. He knew he was dying. The doctors gave him months. Adopting Luca was his last play to secure his seat, lock down his faction's influence, and crucially, stop the Casperia faction from gaining an edge after his death.
Wow. So Luca's introduction to this world was entirely strategic.
Completely. Matius waits until the last possible moment, this big event called the First Feast, to unveil Luca as his heir. He's desperately trying to ensure continuity, to shore up his side before he dies.
And this is all happening while the city is under siege.
That's the incredible part. Even with the new legion at the gates, the river crossing imminent, these highborn magistrates are still primarily focused on political alliances, on marriages, on cozying up to the top guy, Consul Saturnian, who happens to be Vale's father, another key player.
So they're still thinking about their place after the war.
Yeah. They're trying to ensure their place after this war. It's like institutional blindness. They can't grasp that this is a revolution aiming to destroy their entire world. They just see it as another political shift, something to be managed for their own benefit.
Which makes you think, okay, the Citadel is corrupt, maybe the new legion, the rebels, are the good guys?
But then you introduce Centurion Roskia.
Ah, Roskia. Yeah, he complicates that neat picture, doesn't he? Because if the Citadel is Roskia, embodies the sheer brutality of the rebellion's vengeance. He makes you question their moral high ground.
How so? What's his deal?
He's described in the sources pretty bluntly as the most brutal and barbaric Isarian in our ranks. He basically built his reputation, his power within the new legion by hunting down magistrates trying to flee the city, and doing it, well, without official approval initially.
So he was just killing them.
Systematically. His actions were so extreme, so unsanctioned, that the rebel leadership, Luca, Vale, they actually tried to sideline him, put him on gate duty, kind of contain him.
But it didn't work. Not really. He's still the one responsible for those bodies hanging from the bridge. And here's the thing. Roskia comes from low birth. His rapid, violent rise, it highlights the raw class anger fueling this whole war. He is the vengeance of the lower city.
And the leadership.
Yeah.
They need him.
That's the uncomfortable truth. They need his ruthlessness. His men are fiercely loyal to him, partly because of his brutality. It gets results. It inspires fear. Luca and Vale, they need Roskia and his men if they're going to break into the Citadel.
So they tolerate the barbarism.
They do. Which forces you to ask, can you claim to be righteous if you're relying on someone like Roskia to win?
It suggests that power, maybe it corrupts no matter whose hands it's in.
That's a bleak thought. It actually echoes something Luca's own mentor warned him about. But maybe before we dive into the mentors, we need to talk about the magic. The source of Isara's power. This God's blood. Yes, God's blood. This is absolutely fundamental. It's like Isara's original sin. Their entire prosperity, their victory in the old war against Valshad 100 years ago, their technology, their claim to the god's favor, it all comes from God's blood.
And it was stolen, you said.
Stolen from the city they conquered, Valshad. 100 years before our story starts.
And the way it was stolen, the sources make it sound pretty horrific, more than just taking treasure.
Oh, it's deeply disturbing. It's spiritual desecration. See, the magic, it either has to be given freely or it has to be taken.
And the Isarians, they took it.
They took it. And the only way to take it, according to the lore, the only way they could steal it from the original Valshadi priestesses was through something called the blood rites.
Flood rates.
It means, well, it means drinking every single drop of the carrier's blood.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the sources explicitly call it a shameful desecration. That phrase just hangs over everything Isara is. Their entire civilization is built on sacrilege, on violence, on this stolen lifeblood.
And this stolen magic, where is it now?
It resides primarily in 3 priestesses who live in a sacred place called the Illyrium. But the power is fading. Priestess Ophelius, she's Maris's mentor. Actually, she holds the last dwindling flame of it. She's a 3rd-generation recipient, and the magic is visibly weakening in her.
So the city's power source is literally dying out.
It is, and yet the magistrates, the rulers, they've treated this sacred, finite resource like a commodity. They've polluted its meaning.
Oh.
It's infused into everything. Medicines, weapons. Roskia's sword is mentioned as being God's blood sheened. The jewels, the rich ware, even the very bricks of the Citadel walls contain traces of it. It's the bedrock of their society.
But you said they polluted it.
Because they started treating it like currency, defiling it, casting it into trinkets, selling little vials of it in the forum to the highest bidder, using it for political leverage.
So the very people claiming divine favor are basically disrespecting the source of that favor.
Exactly. For the Citadel elite, the god's blood isn't sacred anymore. It's just another tool for wealth and control. And that disrespect, that decay, is partly why you see these powerful, disillusioned figures emerging as mentors, like Ophelius for Maris and philosopher Vitrasian for Luca.
Right, the mentors. Let's compare them. They sound like they offered very different lessons.
Hugely different, but both absolutely critical in shaping Maris and Luca for the roles they end up playing. Ophelius, Maris's mentor. She was the keeper of this dwindling flame, literally and metaphorically.
Maris spent years with her.
4 years as her novice in the Illyrium. It was partly a way for Maris to escape the political fallout after her mother's suicide, avoid the scrutiny.
And what did Ophelius teach her?
Riddles, mostly. History. The dark truths about Isara, about the god's blood theft, the real cost of the old war. Ophelius hated the magistrates, despised them. She was eventually branded a traitor herself for trying to take control of her own fate, opening her veins in the temple.
It sounds like a painful relationship for Maris.
Extremely. The sources describe Maris performing these weekly draining rites on Ophelius, meant to manage the god's blood power. But Maris slowly realizes Ophelius isn't just fading, she's actively trying to die.
To stop the Citadel using her power.
Exactly. To prevent them from controlling the last of the god's blood for their own corrupt ends. And her final words to Maris are these cryptic warnings, like a story about figures named Aster and Remilion and the phrase, "Sometimes you must burn a field to save it." Dark foreshadowing. Plus, she tells Maris, your fate has changed. Again. Chilling stuff.
Okay, so Ophelius is history, riddles, sacrifice. What about Luca's mentor, Vitrasian?
Vitrasian was completely different. A philosopher, a scientist, a technical genius known for hydropropulsion, things like that. But she was also a rebel in her own way.
How so?
She consciously rejected the highborn lifestyle, didn't flaunt wealth, refused to worship the gods, wouldn't wear god's blood trinkets. She lived simply.
And her lesson for Luca.
Much more cynical, more pragmatic than Ophelius' teachings. Vitrasian taught Luca that everything, philosophy, science, art, all of it, ultimately gets co-opted by the powerful. It all just becomes cogs in a machine meant for a single-purpose power.
That's quite a worldview, very stark.
It is. But it gave Luca a kind of brutal foresight. Vitrasian knew about the biggest secret the magistrates were hiding.
Which was?
The grain fields had failed. For 3 years running, a catastrophic famine was looming, but the Citadel kept it quiet. Vitrasian saw it coming. She predicted the consul would inevitably choose war, just go take what they needed from someone else rather than admit failure. She taught Luca to see the mechanics of power behind the curtain.
So you put all this together, the stolen magic fading, the secret famine, the prophecies about the gods punishing Isara. It paints a picture of a city just doomed.
It really feels like their past is catching up with them. That 3-year harvest failure, kept secret, it fueled rumors, prophecies that Isara was being punished. And Luca feels this weight personally.
Beyond just the circlet of light.
Yeah. He's acutely aware of this goddess Kali, the goddess of death, and her tendency to work in threes. He's already lost 2 tribunes, his direct subordinates in the last few months. He believes he's due the 3rd.
That's heavy.
It's so heavy that he actively refuses to bond with his new tribune, this young guy named Theo. He's trying to protect Theo, trying to spare him from what Luca sees as his own destructive fate. All these threads, the mark, the deaths, the drought, Ophelius's riddles, they're all pulling towards one shattering moment.
And that moment, it seems, is tied up in this forbidden romance between Luca and Maris. Treasonous from the start, you said.
Absolutely. Given their families, Luca, heir to Matius, Maris, heir to Casperia, they were supposed to be enemies, pawns in their families' power struggles.
But they connected.
They did. They found common ground in their shared hatred of the Citadel's political game. They had these secret meetings in gardens down by the sea where Luca liked to swim, places away from the forum's eyes.
What was the attraction?
Maris saw Luca as different. Yes, handsome, godlike even, the sources say. But she also sensed something violent, a potential in him that set him apart from the usual spoiled, weak, high-born men she knew.
Sure.
They connected over feeling trapped, feeling like their lives weren't their own.
But that personal connection couldn't survive the political reality, could it? What was the breaking point?
The execution of Luca's mentor, Vespasian, that was the catalyst. And Vespasian didn't just die. She orchestrated her death as a final, defiant act of rebellion.
What'd she do?
She staged a public play. Right before her execution, actors dressed as gods, with blue and gold halos, throwing symbolic javelins down onto actors playing the magistrates, who then fell into this pile representing red blood.
Wow. Talk about a statement.
A powerful, visceral image of divine judgment. And then, for good measure, she set her study on fire, destroyed all her research, all her records, refused to let the Citadel have any part of her legacy.
How did the Citadel react? I imagine not well.
Swiftly and brutally. The consul, Maris's father, immediately called an emergency tribunal to condemn her. And the devastating part for Maris, her own mother, magistrate Casperia, cast the deciding vote, the unanimous vote, the white stone for execution.
Casperia voted to kill Vespasian, Luca's mentor.
Yes. That act sealed Vespasian's fate, but it also completely shattered Luca's remaining loyalty to the system. He was in the gallery, watching.
And he reacted.
Instantly, explosively. That's described as the first whispered word of revolt. He just screamed no, grabbed a sword from a legionnaire nearby, killed the soldier guarding Vespasian, and actually took her body into his arms.
He killed a guard in the tribunal.
Yes. A single irreversible act of violence. The sources stress how immediate, how desperate it was. It severed everything, his future, his vows, his connection to Maris, his place in the Citadel. He crossed the river right after that, joined the rebellion, became the enemy.
But even then, amidst all that chaos, they had one last secret act together. The marriage.
Yes, just before he fled. A desperate secret wedding ceremony in the Illyrium. Ophelius herself presided over it.
Why? What was the point if he was leaving?
It feels like a radical attempt to reclaim some agency, maybe.
Yeah.
To defy the system one last time together. And Luca does something extraordinary. During the vows, he deliberately takes Maris's family name, Casperia, instead of his adopted name, Matius.
He took her name.
Yeah, symbolically erasing his connection to his uncle, publicly humiliating the dying Matius. Ophelius performs the ritual, grafting him into the Casperia line. And Consul Centurion, Maris's father, is there, watching, apparently terrified.
What a scene, and then he leaves.
Then he leaves. But first, the final goodbye. He cuts a braid from Maris's hair, traditional symbol of their bond, and he begs her not to attend the tribunal, not to tell anyone they're married. He knows that connection is now a death sentence for her. He had to go, and the blood he spilled ensured there was no turning back. They were bound together, legally and spiritually, but now separated by war.
A complete separation. Which sets up the final act, doesn't it? The city's collapse, the final betrayals. Maris is now stuck in the Citadel, a magistrate, Casperia's heir, while Luca leads the rebels outside.
Right. And Maris, trapped inside, tries to figure out what's really going on. She starts digging into her mother's affairs, remembering these strange blank parchments her mother used to handle. Parchments treated with God's blood.
God's blood parchments? Why?
She connects them to the consul's private aviary, falcons flying secret messages out of the Citadel. She realizes these blank parchments must carry invisible messages encrypted somehow.
So espionage within the Citadel.
Exactly. High-level treason. And these weren't just any messages. The God's blood treatment made them hard to detect. And the encryption, it used the first language.
The first language? What's that?
An ancient, complex cipher, known only to the highest-ranking priests and their novices, people like Ophelius, and crucially, people like Maris and Luca, who both had that training.
So only a few people could read them.
Very few. And the key to decode the cipher could be anything. Sacred texts, farming records, anything. Making it almost impossible for outsiders to crack. The consul was sending highly secure, secret messages.
And Luca and Vale, on the outside, they intercept some of these.
Yeah, they shoot down some of the falcons, they manage to piece it together, and the truth they uncover is terrifying.
Who was the consul talking to? Not allies, surely.
No, he was signaling Velshad, Isara's ancient enemy, the city they conquered and stole the god's blood from a century ago.
He was inviting the enemy in.
He was. The consul knew the civil war was lost. He knew the new legion was going to win. So in a final act of spite, or maybe desperation, he decided to burn it all down. He was offering Velshad terms, likely offering them the last of the god's blood in exchange for, well, who knows, maybe his own survival, maybe just revenge on everyone.
So the civil war is about to become an invasion.
Exactly. The whole game just changed.
And Luca realizes Maris is in mortal danger.
Immediately, he tries to get her out. He gets a fake medallion-made citizenship under a false name, Esdran, and urges her to use it to blend in with the ordinary citizens being allowed to leave the city before the final assault.
But it's too late.
Time runs out. Before Maris can escape, before the exodus is complete, Velshad arrives. Their army appears on the outer walls, green tunics, gold-tipped flags. The external enemy is here. Isara is now fighting on two fronts.
And just as the outside threat appears, the internal one explodes.
Yes. Centurion Roskia, his faction finally breaks through the Citadel's defenses. They storm the district.
And Luca follows.
Luca and Theo arrive later at the tribunal hall, the center of magistrate power. And what they find is a massacre, just utter horror. 50, maybe 60 magistrates and their entire families, men, women, children, they're all dead, hung from the banisters.
Hung, like the ones on the bridge.
Just like them. Total annihilation, Roskia's final vengeance.
What about the consul, Maris's father?
Dead too. He locked himself in the city's granary and set it on fire. Took his own life rather than face the rebels or the Velshadi.
And Ophelius, the priestess.
Also dead. We learn Maris granted her that final wish, gave her the knife, let her end her suffering, and deny the Citadel her power.
So just devastation, chaos. And in the middle of all this, Roskia has one last twist of the knife for Luca.
The final, personal betrayal. Roskia confronts Luca and reveals he knew all along. He knew about Maris. He'd seen them together in the gardens months ago, before Luca even defected.
He knew and said nothing.
He held on to it, waited for the perfect moment to use it as leverage. Now, with the city fallen, with Velshad invading, with Maris's life hanging by a thread, Roskia basically tells Luca, I know your secret.
The war Luca started has led to this. His faction destroyed, his mentor dead, the city overrun, and the one person he loves completely vulnerable. And Roskia holds all the cards.
Thus is trapped. He has to fight the invaders, lead his men, but he also has to save Maris.
He's forced into an impossible choice, and he makes the tragic one. He lies to Maris. He tells her they'll leave together, escape the city.
But he doesn't mean it. No. He sends Vale in his place. Vale, who's now effectively the acting consul, the only authority left. Luca chooses his duty to the fight, to the city, over his personal happiness, over their future.
So Vale goes to negotiate with the Velshadi.
Yes. Vale meets the Velshadi general, a woman named Viria. They agree on terms for the occupation.
What are the terms?
Brutal, but strategically clever. Ordinary citizens get safe passage out of the city. But anyone from a magistrate family, anyone with a claim to a forum seat, they have to stay. They're prisoners, essentially.
Which includes Luca.
It includes Luca, definitely.
Yeah.
As Matius' heir, and now technically part of the Casperia line too, he's trapped by his own heritage.
And Maris.
Maris is brought to the city gates with Vale and Theo. But because she's now effectively stateless, her mother dead, her inheritance meaningless, her connection to Luca's secret, she's formally stripped of her citizenship.
Expelled.
Expelled, not get prisoner, expelled. In a final public moment of separation, she meets Vale at the gate. She takes off the mage's medallion, the one she stole from her uncle's body, her last link to the old power, and drops it into Vale's hand. A confirmation of her exile.
And Luca.
Luca watches from behind the gates, watches her leave. He saved her life, but he sacrificed their entire future together to do it.
That's just brutal, the culmination of everything. He sacrifices their love, their life for the war he started and for her survival. The legacy of the Azuran elite literally dies with him inside those walls.
Yeah, he stays behind to fight the Velshadi, leading what's left of the new legion. He accepts his fate. He accepts that he's the one who woke the storm, as the source puts it.
And Maris, where did she go?
She ends up in a refugee camp outside the city walls, with hundreds of other expelled Isari. It's basically the new Isara now, this camp. Theo, Luca's tribune, is assigned to guard her. They watch the Velshadi set up their occupation camp just outside the ruined city.
How does Maris process Luca's choice?
She sees it as a betrayal, definitely, a betrayal of the life they had planned. She calls it a self-inflicted wound on his part. But there's also a sense, maybe, of grim acceptance. She's alive, yes. Exiled, stripped of everything, carrying the weight of the Citadel's fall. But alive.
But there's a twist, right? The final irony.
The huge final irony that changes everything. Maris, the exile, the one cast out. She still possesses the one thing Velshad ultimately came for. The power of Isara.
Ow.
Remember Priestess Ophelius? During her years as a novice, Maris acquired something. A god's blood cuff on her arm. She carries a direct connection to the magic. The power wasn't entirely extinguished with Ophelius.
So the exiled magistrate heiress holds the key to the city's magic.
Exactly. The entire future now rests with her, the outcast.
And then she sees someone among the Velshadi.
She sees their leader, General Viria. And she recognizes something in her bearing, her description. She matches the legends of the ancient Velshadi priestess lineage, the very line that God's blood was stolen from 100 years ago. It's like history coming full circle.
And the Velshadi general makes an offer.
Yes. Viria issues a call to action, invites the disillusioned Isarians in the camp to join them, to help take back your city from the corruption that destroyed it.
And Maris, what does she do? She has the god's blood cuff, the knowledge of the first language cipher, the inner workings of the Citadel.
She steps forward. She makes her choice. Yeah. Luca made his to stay, to fight, to die, perhaps. Now she makes hers. She offers her services, her knowledge, her power to the enemy, to the conquerors.
Wow. So the survivor, the heiress, the keeper of the flame, she joins the invaders.
Her betrayal becomes her path forward. She transforms exile and heartbreak into agency. Her final thought in the source material is chillingly simple. Luca made his choice. Now I'm making mine.
Which leaves you wondering, is she going to use that power, that knowledge, to help Velshad reclaim what was stolen? Or does she have another plan entirely? A way to perhaps rebuild Isara from the ashes, but on her own terms? That's the question we're left with.